Welcome to Inside Eastern Utah. I'm Scotty Draper, and we are here with Emery County Commissioner Kent Wilson today. Kent has been in the position in commission for only a couple of months now.
About 3 months.
Yes, but plenty long enough to get your feet wet by this point, am I right?
I tell people the water is just up to here. It stays about
So
right
just
there.
not the feet wet, everything's wet by this point.
It is.
Well, let's talk a bit about how you got to this point. The position obviously opened up and there were quite a few people vying for it. What made you want to be a part of this?
Well, I run for county commissioner 8 or 10 years ago and I was defeated. And so I had a strong desire back then. And over the last 30 years, I've served on probably a half a dozen different boards helping Emery County and serving them. And service is just part of my nature. At the time this come up, I was serving on Orangeville City Council. And so what I've tried to do is I own a business in Emery County and the population, the people have been very generous to us and supported us. So I've tried to give back to Emery County through serving them.
And I'm sure you've been in Emery County, you're basically a native. I mean, a little bit of your younger years were spent elsewhere, but you've been in business a long time over there, and I'm sure that kind of helps give you a feel and help a lot of, you know, your decisions and whatnot now that you're on the commission, gives you a good background for the county.
We've been in business for 42 years there at BK's. We were the first convenience store to come in Carbon and Emery County.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And so it's given me a lot of experience in managing a budget, trying to manage employees, try to get the most out of them you can, and has taught me how to, with BK's, I am one little family-owned store with competition that are chains. So I've had to learn how to package myself amongst stiff competition. And so I feel like Emery County is the same way.
Yes.
We're a little county and we have to compete with the big boys, the bigger cities and counties, and it's been helpful.
Yes, and obviously after 42 years, still going strong, it's doing something right, I'd say. And you know, you mentioned going against the big boys and the changing of the county throughout the years. I'm sure as a business, you've seen a lot of fluctuation in the economy in Emery County. And even now, things are maybe kind of unsure for some people. We're always wondering about budget. What light can you shed on that for the county?
Well, usually, excuse me, from a business standpoint, in Emery County, we have had more down years than we've had growing years. And so it seems like we're always in survival mode. And it's no different now. We've lost our coal mines, and it's made a big difference. Just going up Huntington Canyon, there are 150 people that don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
I had 2 children that had to move to Wyoming to get jobs. And so for the last 3 or 4 years, we have just been surviving.
Yes.
But there are some things that are causing us a lot of pain. And one of those is rising costs of healthcare. In Emery County, healthcare has went up 50% in the last 2 years. And that's hard to absorb.
Yes.
And so you have to balance the services to the people. You know, near and dear to my heart are the youth and the elderly. And so that's where I want to focus and make sure that we take care of those citizens. Youth are probably one of the most important assets we have now.
Yes, and you know, a lot of people say that the local youth are our biggest export, which is so sad to say, but just like you said, your kids had to move just so they could find a job. And so what does the county look like budget-wise with their employees?
Oh, good question. I just went through the budget cycle for the first year, and it's been quite an experience. We had to start with, when we had all of our budget requests come in versus revenue, we had $600,000 that we had to cut, and it was a hard process.
Yes.
Because you're dealing with friends and people you know and people that are giving all they have to help make Emery County successful. And so what we've chosen to do is try to downsize through attrition. Just in the last 90 days, we've had a couple people retire. And so we've went from different departments and moved people around and not hired anybody to replace them. And we'll continue to do that in the future. and try to get down to where we need to be.
So at this point, you're not anticipating any layoffs or anything of that nature?
No, we're going to ride it out for a year. We're going to try to renegotiate our health care and see what that means. We are one of the few, if not only, counties left in the state that where our employees do not participate. And so we've got to analyze that and see what it means so we can take care of, we either need to take care of everybody a little bit or downsize and take care of everybody, cover all of their health care.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
And so obviously when you're looking at budget, personnel obviously takes a big chunk of that, but there's also services. I mean, you can talk about the rec department, the road department. Should people expect any changes in those because of a downsize of budget, or are you guys just kind of working it with what you have?
There's not going to be any changes because of budget. But one of my favorite sayings over there is just because we've done something for the last 20 years doesn't mean that's how we're going to do it for the next 20 years. You know, one thing that's apparent to me is in the last 5 or 10 years, our world has changed dramatically with technology. And so it's made it, in the business world, you do things differently. So we're trying to analyze how we do things, change our model a little bit so we can produce more with less. At every opportunity, make every employee 100%, have duties to take up the whole 8 hours of time.
Great. And on another note, I know another hot topic over there is the solar plant that is considering coming in. For those that don't know, can you kind of give us a some base information on that, what the plan is, what their hopes are?
It's all in flux right now. We're trying to figure out as a commission how we want to handle that. It's a new concept for us. The solar people have come in, and down in Iron County, they have kind of set the standard in that a county will give a 70% abatement off of their property taxes. And so that would mean they would get a 70% discount. And I've struggled with trying to understand what that means. And what I have found out is Emery County has the highest property tax rate in the state. And that doesn't mean that we're gouging people. What it means is Emery County has a unique model where we provide almost all of the services for our citizens, whether it be EMS, fire, police, the aging program, recreation, and it goes on and on. We do a lot of the things that cities and other counties take care of. And so that's the way we've chosen to fund things. But when businesses come into Emery County, it throws us at a disadvantage. And so for the solar industry, they will not use any of those services. So me personally, I'm getting closer to where I'm supporting giving them an abatement. Iron County gives anywhere from 50% to a 70% abatement, depending on the size of the project. All total, they collect about $300,000 a year between 18 different solar projects. This one solar project will bring it'll bring $10 million into Emery County's economy over a 15-year period.
Which is a good chunk. I mean, we would take that, right?
Yes, and especially when there's no cost to us. And so it's very appealing to me.
And when we spoke a little bit before this about saying if there is no abatement or if the taxes are too high, then they won't come in at all because it's not feasible for them. And you mentioned that it's better to at least have a chunk of something than to have nothing.
Right. To me, it's better to have, if that property does not, today we collect $2,000 a year property tax on it. And so in my mind, we are better off to have 30% of something than 100% of nothing. The problem with the solar industry is it is complex in that they are competing against everybody in the Western United States. And there are some states that do not tax the solar industry. And so that puts us at a disadvantage.
As well. Well, that obviously this area has relied on coal for many years, and that is not so much the case anymore. What do you think the future looks like for Emery County? Obviously, there has to be some kind of expansion, some change to see what new industry could work in this area to help boost the economy. What do you see that looking like?
As I've thought about this, I believe Emery County we are not going to be fortunate enough to have another company come in here and build something that's going to provide the economic base that we've had in the past. And so we need to diversify. And I think we need to do what we can to increase our agricultural
Yes.
Farming. It's a big part of our community. Tourism is expanding with very little effort from us.
Yes.
And so we have some thoughts on how to handle that, because we don't have motels, so it throws us at a disadvantage. But we're getting quite a few people on Airbnb,
Yes.
and which we need to promote and take advantage of.
Which is so popular now. I mean, anyone with a phone or a laptop, Google searches. And that's really one of the great things about social media now too, is like you said, without much effort, people are sharing their photos from Joe's Valley or from the various events they're at. And it just helps you in Emery County in any way. So.
Even as old as I am, the last time I traveled, I used Airbnb.
Yes.
And it was easier than I thought.
Yes, and it's becoming more and more popular. So I think tourism could certainly be great for the county in the future.
But to me, for Emery County to move forward, we need to figure out our tax base so we can compete with other counties in the state. And we're going to work on that.
And sometimes it's tough because with a smaller population, I mean, you go to the Wasatch Front and they cram so many people into one little county, it's easier for them to offer, you know, lower rates and stuff just because they have that higher population.
It's true.
So now that you've been in for a couple months, what are your plans for the remainder of your time there? I know that's a loaded question. You're just trying to take it all as it comes, I'm sure. But is there anything you have a specific interest in?
When I decided to run for this position, there were 35 people that had a vote on who was elected. Probably 8 out of 10 said, Kent, what are you going to do for the economy of Emery County? And so to me, I'm going to work towards trying to get business in here.
Yes.
And I vowed to be a full-time commissioner, and I've lived up to that. And I believe it takes a person sitting behind that desk 40 hours a week to solve all of the complex issues that are before us. And so I have vowed to put that time in. And I believe if you do that, the problems will get solved and we'll find success.
Well, it's certainly an undertaking that you've put yourself into. So we certainly appreciate you coming and giving us some of your time and telling us what's going on in the county. I'm sure we'll pester you again in the future with all this stuff that's going on. But thank you again, and best of luck in these coming months with all that's going on.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, stick around. We're going to be back in a few minutes with Inside Eastern Utah.